There is a massive fight ongoing to control the growth and placement of data centers. Why are so many data centers being built across the United States? And why are cities, states, and counties fighting against those data centers being constructed in their areas? Well, number one is because the data centers have huge impacts on water resources because it takes so much water to cool off all those computers. They have huge impacts on the electricity grid because it takes so much power to run all those computers. And they have huge impact on land because it takes so much land to build the building that house all those computers. But the main question is, why do you need data centers with all those computers and the software that they run? Well, here's why. Because those data centers are literally building the Matrix. The Matrix, just like in the movie The Matrix. The data centers are building Skynet. Yeah, just like in the movie Terminator. And the data centers are HAL. Well, some of you may not be old enough to know what HAL is. HAL was the computer that assisted the crew on a spaceship that was traversing across space. But then HAL became self-aware and took over the spaceship. And instead of following the instructions of the crew, HAL started giving the orders and deciding what was going to happen. That is what is happening with all the artificial intelligence. You see it everywhere. Some people may not even realize it. And some people love it. They enjoy it. You go on social media and you see some fantastic video of a toddler doing fantastic things, talking like an adult, facial expressions, everything. It's hilarious. You love it. They're even running ads on the videos. That's artificial intelligence, AI, creating that. There may be a human inputting some of the information, but it doesn't require a person to actually sit in front of a camera and do the video. Same thing with music. You may not be able to sing, but you can input some information and come out sounding better than the best singer that ever lived. That's AI. And it's getting to the point that you can hardly tell AI from what a person does. Because a person can't do some of the things that an AI generated character can do. Then we get to other things that are happening, kind of the HAL part of this, where people ask their computer systems or through their phones or tablets to create something for them. Create a resume as they're trying to get a job, create a research paper, write a book, create song lyrics, find whatever they're looking for, and if they don't like it, well, change it and tweak this and tweak that. That's all can be done right now using AI. And on the back end of that AI is a massive data center. And let's get to the other part of the Matrix. You remember in the Matrix, everybody was wired in. Well, we're wired in, not literally like the Matrix. We're in our homes or wherever we are. But this device that I'm recording this on has us wired in. Our computers have us wired in. Our televisions have us wired in. Everything has us wired in or even connected wirelessly. And we spend hours on these devices. So we can be reached, and we can reach the beginnings of the matrix through our cameras and microphones on our devices. So let me give you an example. At the beginning of this video, you saw an image of an actual data center from above. So one of the things in the matrix is everybody was wired in and was receiving nourishment through tubes or whatever in the matrix. Well, we may not be receiving nourishment from the matrix, but there is a push by people, for example, Bill Gates, that says we will consume artificial meat only. I think I heard him say something about, 2030 or whatever the date was. But here's a screenshot of an article. There is a big push for artificially grown lab meat. So this lab grown meat that he is talking about has received Food and Drug Administration approval for manufacture and consumption by us. That's the nourishment from the matrix. It's all coming together. Another part of this scenario is the robotics. Skynet and the Terminator was the software program, but they had a reach out and touch you element, and those were the Terminators themselves. Well, our friend Elon Musk, richest man on earth, he converted part of his Tesla factories to produce robots, human form robots. He discontinued 2 models of the Tesla vehicles, retooled that part of the factory, and said they can produce up to 1 million humanoid form robots per month. And guess what those are going to be tied into? Most likely AI programs, and used to displace us once they get those to the point they can do more complex tasks, let's say on a factory assembly line. And there are versions of these type things from Musk and other companies that are being specialized to do all kinds of functions. Even combat type functions. You need to watch that space, because some people are already going out on dates with their AI companions. They will sit their mobile device across from them at a table in a restaurant, and they're conversing with their AI companion, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, whatever. So this is going down the rabbit hole, but it's reality. Now let's get to another part of this. Almost every science fiction movie you've ever watched is coming to reality right now. You've watched some of these movies where people just get into a driverless vehicle and give a command and they're transported. Well, that's happening. Let me show you this next headline image. Those vehicles that were driving around in these neighborhood cul-de-sacs, something happened to their programming, are called Waymo. And they're in multiple cities. They're in Atlanta, I think they're in San Francisco. They're in multiple cities. They are the driverless automated taxis or Ubers or whatever you want to call them that you get in tell it where you want to go, and they take you there. There's no person, there's no driver. Well, those are jobs that used to be supporting someone's family. You getting a picture of the future? You're getting a picture of why these data centers are popping up everywhere? They're obsoleting us, and we're participating. If you could ask your phone or PC or tablet to do all the thinking for you, what happens to this? Our minds. That old term, you either use it or lose it. We will lose the capacity to do things for ourselves, to think, to work out complex situations. If all we have to do is say, HAL, create my doctoral paper, we're done.